In this video, we're going to talk about schedules in Revit. Now, this is an example here where I created schedules for listing and calculating totals and costs about my project. So this is what you can do with Revit. It's another really interesting feature. Now, I will get back to the project that we are developing from the previous lessons. And in the last lesson, we talk about how we can use phases. So how we can manage our project using phases, and we can distinguish various phases. So we can see here what our building was before the work and then after, and also what we did in between those two phases. So the walls, for example, here, and the doors that we demolished, and also the new construction, and so on. So we can manage everything here using phases. Now, phases are also going to be important when we create schedules. And so we're going to start here creating some more views that again are going to be done in our final sheets. So before we actually start with a new one here, so new legends, we're going to talk about legend and schedules. Now, legends are similar to detail views. We already talked how to create detail views, but legend is kind of specific on a particular piece of furniture, basically, or a particular family. And schedules instead are, well, they can create quantities here for all the families that you have in your project, or you can filter. So you can do, for example, a calculation of how many doors or how many windows you have in the project, and the cost of one door, and then the total costs. With material, you can calculate areas or volumes of, for example, the walls in your project, or the roof, or the floors, and so on. Sheet list, this is a particular, well, we can create this right away, but since we don't have create any sheet yet, we cannot see anything. So you can see how it looks when you need to create a schedule. So it starts with this panel. Let me show you also here. We can do a view list because we already have views. We don't have sheets, but we have views. So if we click here, you can see there is the same panel. So for example, I can insert here the view name. So first of all, you're gonna move here in the available fields and select one. Click on this green arrow and place it in the schedule fields. So this is what is gonna appear in your schedule, in your list. So let's do just a simple list of the views that we have. So I'm gonna say OK, and this is gonna create our new schedule, which is pretty simple. I can click here, make it a little bit bigger. Now you can always change the name here. So you can call this project list of views. You can do whatever you want here. You can rename it. And you can see this is the list of all the views that I have created in the previous lessons. So I can move also inside, and I can also change the name from here. So if I don't like, for example, this name, I can double click there and call it elevation north. And this is, well, you can call it whatever you want. Now this is in Italian, so I'm also doing kind of a translation here. So elevation east, and so on. So I find it more, well, easier to change the names from here than going every time here and right click. So this is just the first example of how you can use the schedules here. So basically, schedules are a representation of information of your project. So when you use a plan view or a section or a 3D view, you can see your project right there in 2D graphics or in 3D graphics. But here you can see it in terms of data. And this is what BIM or BIM software are all about. They are essentially creating a database, and you can say that schedules are kind of the physical representation of that database. So they are just tables where you can see information, display data. You can also change data. You can modify the project from here because everything is synchronized. So if I go now in the project browser, you can see that I have changed the names here. Okay, now we're gonna make more example, but before we do that, when you use a template, you can always check if there are some schedules ready-made for you. So you can see here that actually there are. Now this one here, we just created this. And sorry about the spelling there. Okay, but these two were already there, so I can use them. So these are in Italian, but I'm gonna translate in English. Now this is for the rooms, so I'm gonna call this project rooms. And here I have the square meters and also the total of the square meters. This is really handy in an architectural project to know each room area and also the total. And this one here is materials from the wall, so I'm gonna call this walls materials. Okay, so we can start with this. We can also create our own starting from this. Now if I go back to the project rooms, and here I'm gonna give you another demonstration that everything is connected. So first of all, be careful about the face. We were talking about face just a minute ago. Now this is important to understand where you at in terms of time, because right now we are watching what's after my project. So it's the result of my project is this one here, this view here. If I change that and say before my project, things are gonna change because now it's referring to this one here, and you can see that I didn't give names here to the rooms. Now if I click inside the schedule, inside the table, you can see that it's showing me the room that I'm selecting. So this is why I think this is easier and faster. So here I can change name really fast, and it's also gonna give me some suggestions. There you go. So this is bathroom, and I can move here. This is double bedroom. There you go. So it's pretty easy to do it from a schedule rather than going inside the room tag and changing it there. Okay, so I'm just gonna go quick here and rename those. There you go. And this is entrance, and this one here is the living room. Now using schedules, it can also be helpful to check, to control if anything is not good. Now if I go back to after my project, you can see here that I have some of these that have not been placed. I don't know why, maybe because I just place some extra room tag, or well, there could be a problem here. So what I can do in the schedules is filter the information that I don't want to see. So for example here, if I go to edit, this is gonna bring me back to that original panel